I'll never forget that day. Everything in my life felt like it was falling apart all at once. I'd just quit my job, my relationship had ended, and honestly, I felt like a complete and utter failure. Have you ever had that heavy, empty feeling, that pit in your stomach when you're not sure what comes next, or if there even is a next? That was me, sitting at the back of a half-empty bus, watching the city blur past the window, just wondering where I'd gone so wrong. And that's when it happened. A stranger sat down next to me. He looked like he'd lived 1,000 stories grey hair, a worn-out jacket, and eyes that held a deep, unshakable calm. He glanced over at me and said quietly, "Rough day." I don't know why, but something in me just broke open. The floodgates opened, and I started talking. I told him everything, how I'd been grinding away at a job I hated, how I'd lost people I cared about, how I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror anymore. He didn't interrupt. He didn't offer any of that fake hollow sympathy. He just listened. Really listened. When I finally ran out of words, he pulled out this small, brown notebook. The pages were old and creased, filled from corner to corner with tiny, neat handwriting. He flipped to a specific page and turned it toward me. It said, "You can restart your life as many times as you need." I stared at those words for a few seconds, letting them sink in. He smiled gently and said, "You're treating your life like it's a movie, one plot, one ending. But life's more like a book. You can start a new chapter whenever you want." Then he told me his own story. He used to be a successful lawyer, had the big career, the fancy house, the perfect life on paper, until one day his whole world collapsed. His marriage ended. He lost his job and he had to sell his home. He said at 52 years old, he started over completely, becoming a teacher. He laughed a little and added, "It was terrifying, but it was the first time in my life I actually felt alive." Then he looked me straight in the eyes and said something I will never, ever forget. "The world won't hand you peace, kid. You have to create it right where you stand." Just then, the bus slowed down for his stop, and he stood up to leave. But before he got off, he handed me that little notebook. "Write your next chapter," he said. And just like that, he was gone. That night, back in my quiet apartment, I opened the notebook again. Every single page was filled with his thoughts, quotes, and lessons he'd written to himself, reminders to keep going, to not give up. One note said, "Forgive yourself for the version of you that didn't know better." Another said, "Peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from acceptance." And there, on the very last page, in small, almost faded handwriting, it said, "Start again. You're still on time." I sat there for hours, just reading those words over and over again. Then I turned to the next blank page, picked up a pen, and wrote my own first line. "I can restart my life as many times as I need." That sentence became my mantra. It became my North Star. I went back to school. I completely changed my career path. I started focusing on who I wanted to become instead of mourning who I used to be. It wasn't easy. Rebuilding your life from the ground up never is. But I kept that notebook close. Every single time I felt lost or overwhelmed, I'd open it and remember that stranger's words. Maybe that's why I'm sharing this story with you today. Because sometimes it doesn't take years of planning or some grand miracle to change your life. Sometimes all it takes is one sentence, one moment. One kind stranger on a bus who reminds you that your story isn't over yet. If you're watching this right now and you feel stuck or exhausted or like you've missed your chance, I promise you, you haven't. You can start again. You can rewrite your story. You can restart your life as many times as you need to. So go ahead, turn the page. Your next chapter is waiting. Thanks for listening, and if this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more. Take care.